everybody, my name is Susan Yates and I'm an artist, author and host of this YouTube channel where I talk to you about all things sketching, drawing and creativity. Now I love sketching, but I also love sketching materials. I pop them on my walls here in my little home studio and I have boxes full of stuff that I like to dip into on a regular basis. In fact, I feel that collecting art materials is a hobby in itself. Now today I have received in the post a box of watercolor paints. These are the Paul Rubens watercolor paints and they're brand new. You can still see I've got all the instructions in here and all the little paints are still wrapped up. So what I thought I'd do today is share with you how I explore brand new materials when I receive them or go and buy them in shops. So I'm going to unwrap all of these little paints, we're going to test out the watercolours, and I'll show you a few ways that I like to explore materials and test them out. So let's dive in. Okay, so let's take a look at this watercolour set. I've also brought with me a watercolour sketchbook, a few paintbrushes and a pot of water so I can play with them in a moment. I've unpacked the set from the box and I'm going to open up, and inside we have 24 little half pans. Now these are the small sizes. They're individually wrapped, and when you unwrap them you can then see the watercolour paint here. So you can guess it, the first thing I'm going to do is unwrap all of these so that I can then use them. So I'll speed up the video as I unwrap these and then we can get painting. Okay, so that was a particularly satisfying job, taking all these little wrappers off and popping the colours back into the tray. The bits of information that come with it, you've got a full colour list of all the colours that are actually part of this series, and then this is the list of what colours are actually here. However, I've actually got 2 extra paints here rather than the 24 that are supposed to be included. So I've actually got a couple of extras here, which is quite nice. One of them is a Mars Black, and I'm not sure what this one is, some sort of dark blue. Right, so let's pop all these to the side and let's start playing with these colours. I do love a watercolour set. And the first thing that I recommend you do when you receive any new materials, when you go buy in a shop, when you go experiment or buy something online, is you test out your colours and you just simply see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swatch all of these colours onto my watercolour paper here. And I'm going to start with this one here. Just for the purposes of making it sort of neat, I'm going to swatch the colours as they are laid out here so that I can actually see what the colours look like when they're used, when they're watered down. So I'm just going to mix a little bit of water with each colour and swatch it on the page like this. So when you're doing this, it's important to clean your paintbrush in between. So clean it off. It can help to have a little bit of kitchen roll or paper. So as you can see, the colours, I'm doing a little bit of water in them, but I'm just, first impressions, just seeing what these colours end up looking like. So as you can see, I'm doing little circles of paint. However, you can do any shape, size of colour swatch that you want to. It could be a squiggle, it could be a circle, it could be a rectangle. And it just means that I can really see what these colours are. I find with watercolours, sometimes you can't tell what some of the dark colours are at a glance. But once you actually swatch the colours, wow, you can really see how different they are. Like these 2 greens look very different on the page to how they appear here in the pans. Okay, so that's a really fun way of exploring your watercolours, and as you can see, there's a little swatch here. Each one I've mixed in just a little bit of water into it and popped the colours on here. Some of these colours are absolutely fabulous. I love this selection up here, this pink and this purple. Gosh, they're absolutely gorgeous. So what I'd suggest you do now if you're exploring with a new set of paints is perhaps write the names of the paints next to them. If you find that helpful, then you've got a reference guide to order them again should you want to. So I can pretty much go through here and figure out what is what. Now, one thing with watercolours is you'll find that some are very opaque and some are more translucent, and usually there will be an indicator like these ones here. The filled in square means that it will be more opaque, so not as much of the paper will show through. The empty squares will be slightly more transparent, and I always find these sort of burnt siennas and raw umber colours tend to be quite transparent. Okay, so first of all, I think this is a great range of colours. Myself, I like to use a range of greens and blues, and I particularly love this blue here, which is an indigo, one of my favourite colours. You don't always get an indigo in a set of paints, so I'm really pleased that that indigo is included. One thing that I also like to play about with here is just seeing how light and dark you can get the particular colour. So let's really see what pigment there is in here. So let's have a look at, let's pick one of these lovely blues. Let's pick this blue here. And I'm going to start by doing this very watery. So there's almost no pigment in there. I'm then going to add a little bit more. And then what I want to do is get a really pigmented colour as well. So what I want to do is compare, like, how dark can I get this to how light can I get this? So maybe if I start this the other way as well, that works really brilliantly. Like I can start to work this dark and then gradually add a little bit more water in, sort of cleaning the brush slightly to see how light we can go. So really explore lots of water versus lots of pigment. So play with mark making and just a few little brush strokes, just seeing how the colour combinations work. So as I said before, just trying some with a little bit of water, some with a lot of water, just different marks. And then how does the paint react with water? Circle of water, add in pigments, circle of paint, add in some drops of water, just to see how those pigments move. So that's how I would experiment with a set of watercolour paints when I first get them. I would see how they work. I would check the colours out, check how they mix with water, play with some colours that maybe I haven't had before. Certainly I've not had a paint that's quite like this colour before, this skin tone one. So I'd have a really good play with this one and just see how it works. See how it works in combination with others. See how it works when it's watered down. But certainly I think this is a great set of paints. I do love a tin that opens right up to give you lots of mixing space. So you've got a really good selection of colours. This is more than enough colours to work in a sketchbook. It opens right out so that you've got, two palettes. And this can pack quite neatly alongside a sketchbook in a bag, and it gives you access to a load of paint colours to play with in a sketchbook. So yeah, really nice set of paints. So I really hope you enjoyed exploring these watercolour paints with me as we played in our sketchbook. I think it's really important to have fun when you try out new materials and to spend time understanding how they work. For me, I use a sketchbook for joy, for creativity, for creating a little bit of me time, and that sense of playfulness and exploring the materials I find really important. Now, if you are interested in learning more about watercolour, do check out my video, Sketchbook Stories Episode 4, where I show you how to draw and sketch water using watercolour. Happy sketching, everybody, and I'll see you soon.